Good afternoon, and you're very welcome to the programme. You're listening to SIRAJ ZAIDI until 4 o'clock. You're most welcome to the programme, and I shall be with you for the next hour or so, wherever you are tuning me in. You're most welcome to stay with me for another hour. Although I'm demanding the first hour of your life, but what can I say? I mean, it's more important things to talk about it here from my point of view. And I don't know, the world is changing all the time. And therefore, the time is changing all the time. And therefore, the subject and the content of this program keeps changing week by week. But we have, occasions. We have the clock. We have the reshaping of the world, and all of that is basically pushing you towards something to know. When it comes to the news, entertainment, current affairs, and what's going on according to the world's politics and geopolitics and all that. So today's program will be heavily depending upon that, and also giving the taste of the entertainment that is lined up at the weekend as well. And I shall be talking about it, the event which is taking place on the 20th of June here at the Leopardstown Racecourse. But first thing first, Charmaine is here with the news, and therefore I would shut up and let Charmaine to take the mental, or should I say centre stage, not mental, but mental, or the centre stage. Anyway, Charmaine is here to listen to the news, what's going on in India this week. Sit back, relax, and listen to this, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Charmaine Colvin, and you are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, a year after Air India Flight 171 to London crashed into a medical college campus moments after takeoff from the western Indian city of Ahmedabad, killing 260 people, investigators still cannot say with certainty why one of the world's most advanced passenger jets fell from the sky. An update released by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau on the first anniversary of the disaster last Friday offered a few new clues, saying only that analysis of flight recorder data, aircraft systems, engine components, maintenance records, and human factors remain underway. A preliminary report published last July found that seconds after takeoff, the 12-year-old Boeing 787 Dreamliner's fuel control switches abruptly moved to cut-off position, starving both engines of fuel and triggering total power loss. Cockpit audio captured one pilot asking the other why he had done it, only to receive the reply, "I did not." Investigators did not identify either voice, though many experts saw the exchange as a possible indication of deliberate action in the cockpit. The crash remains highly unusual. While takeoff and landing are aviation's riskiest phases, fatal accidents immediately after liftoff are uncommon. Boeing found that just 14% of global jet crashes between 2004 and 2013 occurred during takeoff and initial climb. Airbus puts the figure at about 5%. Experts say any report must establish precisely when the engines lost power, when the fuel control switches moved, and whether the aircraft experienced technical issues on the accident flight or preceding sectors. The lack of answers after a year suggests investigators are still weighing multiple possibilities. The full cockpit voice transcript may yet hold the key. Only when the cockpit conversation is matched against the aircraft's final seconds of recorded data may a clearer picture emerge of what brought down the jet. Telegram has taken the Indian government to court over its decision to temporarily ban the messaging platform, days before millions of students retake a crucial medical entrance examination. The company challenged the decision on Wednesday, a day after officials blocked access to the app, over concerns it had been used to distribute leaked exam papers. The government says the move will protect the integrity of the exam, which is due to be held again on Sunday, after last month's test was cancelled over allegations of a paper leak. But Telegram CEO Pavel Durov has called the ban a mistake, arguing it would punish millions of users while doing little to stop those responsible for the leaks. Lawyers for the company mentioned the matter before the Delhi High Court on Wednesday, legal website Live Law reported. The judge has agreed to hear the case later in the day. The development comes after Durov wrote a post on X criticising the ban and arguing that it would not stop anything, as those responsible for the leak would have already moved to other apps. Calling Telegram a force for good, he said the platform had removed hundreds of channels sharing leaked exam materials and related scams in India in recent weeks. He added that the Telegram was making its edited label more prominent to help prevent backdating scams. Banning it even temporarily is a mistake, he said. The controversy stems from allegations that question papers for the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, NEET, India's largest medical entrance examination taken by millions of students each year, were leaked before the test was held last month. The case is being investigated by the Central Bureau of Investigation, and more than a dozen people have been arrested so far. The cancellation of the exam sparked protests across India, with students, activists and opposition leaders highlighting what they said were deep-rooted problems in the country's examination system. A retest is scheduled for Sunday, and local media reports say Indian Air Force aircraft and helicopters will be used to transport examination papers. An Indian national has been arrested on suspicion of sanctions offences after the dramatic seizure of a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the English Channel, the National Crime Agency has said. He was taken into custody for questioning by investigators following the operation mounted by Royal Marine Commandos, along with the NCA on Sunday. The NCA said 24 Georgian and Indian crew members remained aboard the Smirtos, anchored off the Dorset coast. Sunday's operation, which saw commandos fast roping from a helicopter onto the tanker, was the first of its kind carried out by UK armed forces. Russia uses hundreds of oil tankers sanctioned by the UK and other Western states over its invasion in Ukraine. The sanctions ban vessels from this shadow fleet, as it is known in the West, from entering UK ports, and also prohibit British firms and individuals from providing financial, insurance or brokerage services to ships that supply or deliver Russian oil. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer announced in March that British armed forces were now able to board sanctioned vessels that are passing through our waters. On Sunday, he said this successful operation delivers yet another blow to Russia and reminds those fueling Putin's war in Ukraine that we will not let them hide. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the UK for taking an important step against Russia's oil fleet. There was no immediate response from Moscow, which has previously described similar interceptions as illegal and bordering on international piracy. India has restricted cough syrup sales to licensed pharmacies, especially in villages, preventing over-the-counter sales from retail outlets as regulators step up scrutiny following contamination-linked child deaths last year. Some cough syrups were previously on an exemption list under drug rules, allowing them to be sold over the counter as household remedies under relaxed regulations. That allowed vendors with restricted retail licenses, often issued in smaller towns or villages without pharmacies and with a population of not more than 1,000, to sell the products. These medicines were often bought without a prescription, including from non-pharmaceutical retail stores. The government has now removed cough syrups from the exemption list, while allowing pills, tablets and lozenges to remain on it, according to a government notification dated June 15th. Consequently, the sale and dispensing of cough syrups in smaller villages will now be required to take place only through duly licensed pharmacies, in accordance with the provisions of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, a separate statement from the Health Ministry said. India has come under pressure to tighten oversight of its pharmaceutical industry, which is dominated by small manufacturers and aims to reach a value of $130 billion by 2030. Since 2022, India-made cough syrups have been linked to the deaths of more than 140 children in Africa and Central Asia, hurting its reputation as the pharmacy of the world. Last October, Shesson Pharmaceutical-made Coldrift syrup was linked to the deaths of 24 children. The country's drug regulator said in February it had inspected nearly 90% of cough syrup manufacturers and taken action against non-compliant units. And finally, the covered-up image of a nude artefact has been withdrawn from an Indian school textbook after it sparked a massive backlash from historians and educationalists. The bronze sculpture, known as the Dancing Girl from Mohenjo-Daro, shows a girl standing with one hand on her hip and is one of the most recognisable artefacts from the Indus Valley civilization. But in a newly released Grade 9 textbook, the figurine's torso was covered with dark shading, hiding its anatomical features. After it created an uproar, officials said that the original image has been restored in the digital version of the book and that new print editions would also carry the unedited photo of the bronze sculpture. The dancing girl sculpture, which was discovered at Mohenjo-Daro, one of the largest settlements of the ancient Indus Valley civilization, depicts a girl adorned with ornaments with her hair tied in a bun. And that's all from me. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you so much indeed, Charmaine, for great items that you've covered today. And Mohenjo-Daro is one of the latest, not latest, but oldest, I would say, and still people are discovering all the statues and things like that. This is an archaeological site of India. Mohenjo-Daro is the, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro is the oldest civilizations which have discovered the statues and all that. In fact, years ago, I have released a film in the film festival. It was shot there, and Ajanta was the name of the film, Ajanta, and it was a beautiful film about a Englishman who is on a hunting mission, shoots a tiger, and the tiger actually falls down in front of a valley, and when he goes to collect that, he actually discovers a cobweb gate of a cave, and he was becoming curious to remove the cobweb and try to go inside the cave to discover that it is Ajanta Ellora Caves, and that was the film is all about, called Ajanta. Beautiful film that I released it many years ago. The director unfortunately passed away. He was also an art director, Nitin Desai, his name was. Anyway, that's by the by. And I shall be talking about many other things today because obviously the mixed environment in the world, I am in the mood to talk about obviously the peace in the world, what is going on in certain parts of the world is the peace vis-a-vis Iran and America. But before that, I'll tell you why we are now on this month, just now today, we have started, yesterday, the first of Muharram, the very first calendar of the New Year, Islamic New Year, which unfortunately does not start with the happiness and merrymaking as the New Year is associated with and synonymous with many cultures. Islamic New Year starts with eulogies, poetries, majalises, the gathering, the lectures, it's the saddest of the sad month of the year. Yes, it's the first month of the year after the completion of the Hajj, Zil Hajj, which is just completed, in which we celebrated Eid, not one Eid, but three Eids, Eid al-Mubahala, Eid Ghadir, and of course Eid al-Adha. Those are the three Eids. After that, the year finishes and the new year starts, called Muharram. And like every year, I'm receiving congratulations messages, a Happy New Year, a New Year message. I wouldn't say Happy New Year because a tradition in Islam is not to celebrate, because this is the month in which the biggest tragedy in mankind occurred 1,400 years after the almost few years demise of Prophet Muhammad himself. His grandson, Imam Hussein, has been slain, mercilessly cut down at the plains of Karbala, which is a city in Iraq and known as a famous golden dome. You probably would have seen it many times in the news items and all that. That is the city where millions are descending this month, which is the month of Muharram, and then second after that comes the Safar. Both 2 months are considered to be the most sacred month, and after those 2 months we celebrate and we enjoy the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, and with that comes the merrymaking. So yes, the life is sometimes happiness, sometimes sadness. This sadness is associated with this gruesome tragedy. It's the shortest war that occurred in the history of mankind, but it is the longest war that has been remembered by the mankind. And we'll talk about it today, but there are a lot of eulogies, a lot of poetry, and called Noha. Noha is a poetic form of that, and I shall be playing in the next few weeks, next week and today's a couple of songs, a couple of nohas that is talking about the tragedy of Imam Hussein. But first track is here, and I'll play just now before I return to another. Let me play the clip first, actually, which is talking about the war, the logic of war and peace. And I'll discuss the logic of war and peace after this clip. So sit back, relax, and listen to this particular clip.
History is not just what happened, it is what keeps happening. When Imam Hussein stood in Karbala, he did not face just an army. He faced a system built on injustice, silence, and fear. Those who followed Yazid were not just soldiers. They represented blind loyalty to power, comfort over truth, silence over justice. And today, the names have changed, but the mindset remains. Yazid is no longer just a person. He becomes every force that tries to distort truth, every system that normalizes oppression, every voice that tells you, stay quiet, it's not your problem. But Karbala teaches something timeless. You are not asked to win the battlefield. You are asked to stand on the side of truth, even if you stand alone. So today the question is not, where is Yazid? The question is, will you recognize injustice when it appears? And will you have the courage to stand against it? Because every age has its Karbala, and every Karbala needs its Hussein.
Every Karbala needs its Hussein. Yes. There's a saying and there's a phrase called every land is Karbala. Every place, every day is Ashura. Ashura is the 10th day of Muharram, in which the Imam Hussein has been slain down at the plains of Karbala, and that phrase has now become every land is Karbala. Wherever the injustice occurs, there is a Karbala. Wherever is the somebody who stood up. This year alone, we have seen and witnessed the gruesome tragedy in Iran. The people who follow Imam Hussein's religion diligently, their leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has been slaughtered mercilessly with his grandchildren, with his school kids and all that. And many other people have been actually eliminated by the evil of today, which is Yazid of today, which is nobody but Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. These are two people who are the embodiment of Yazid of today. So that's what it has been. It's been referred in this particular clip, and I can play it again later on just to remind listeners that we are in the mourning month of Muharram. Mourning month of Muharram is the month in which we do the eulogies, we do lectures, we revive history, and we talk about in the context of what is going on in the world, because it's just not history itself. It keeps repeating, and people must be awakened to understand the meaning behind the tragedy of Karbala. Yes, it occurred 1,400 years ago with the 72 members of a small army of a grandson of Prophet Muhammad, Hussein, stood up against the 30,000 odd army of Yazid, who were completely outnumbered. Hussein's army was outnumbered by them. But there's a point about that, who wins the battle and who loses the battle. Yes, momentarily, Yazid felt inflated that, yes, I have eliminated the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, and, the entire family has been slain, the entire band of people who was supposed to be the upriser, in fact, who disobey me by not accepting my oath of allegiance. And that was the reason for him to declare the war on Hussein. So that's a big history. Who's Hussein is the word. You should type it on your computers and Google it. Hussein, Karbala, Muharram. These are the words you type in your Google and search it, and then you would realize it. That who is what we're talking about. In the context of who wins the battle, who loses the battle, we are witnessing in our eyes, in front of our eyes, one battle that lasted for over 100 days. And now the bombs are silent, the bombs are not dropping, and the battle is over, the war is over. And because the way it occurs, one-sided, unjust war against Imam Hussein, similarly, the unjust war against a nation like Iran happened. Anyway, listen to this particular clip, which is a fantastic clip talking about how this particular incident is now considered to be the defeat for the one. So defining the defeat and winner is a very interesting element when it comes to any war. Sit back, relax, and listen to this particular very important clip.
This is huge breaking news coming in, and if you understand what just happened, you will not scroll past this video. For the first time in modern diplomatic history, an Israeli prime minister has publicly refused a direct condition inside a deal signed by a sitting American president. According to Reuters and the Associated Press, Benjamin Netanyahu has said, out loud, on the record, that Israel will not withdraw from southern Lebanon, even though that withdrawal was part of the U.S.-Iran agreement Donald Trump just announced. Stay with me, because what comes next is not a headline. It's a strategic earthquake. Let me give you the sequence, and watch how fast this moved. On June 14th, President Trump announced what he called a peace framework with Iran. Inside that framework, according to AP News and Time magazine, was a clause. Israel would step back from southern Lebanon. Iran agreed to stop funding regional proxies. The war would cool down. Less than 24 hours later, Netanyahu went in front of cameras, reported by Al Jazeera and The Guardian, and said, quote, "Iran wanted us to withdraw from Lebanon. We will not withdraw." Now pause. Think about what that sentence actually means. An American president signs a deal. The Israeli prime minister rejects part of it the next day, in public. That has almost no precedent. But here's the part most people are missing. This isn't just disagreement. This is what analysts are calling a leverage trap. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. If Netanyahu withdraws, his coalition, which depends on far-right ministers, according to BBC reporting, could collapse. If he refuses, he risks the most important relationship Israel has, the one with Washington. Every door he opens, something breaks. And then Trump did something nobody expected. Speaking at the G7 summit, this is on video, reported by The Guardian, Trump said, and I'm quoting him directly, "Syria would do a better job than Israel taking care of Hezbollah." Read that again. A U.S. president just publicly questioned whether Israel is the right partner for a job Israel has been doing for 40 years. That single sentence may be more important than the entire deal. Now zoom out, because this is where it gets serious. According to Reuters, Iranian officials have warned that if Israeli strikes on Lebanon continue, Iran could walk away from the ceasefire entirely. Hezbollah, according to BBC, has already rejected the U.S.-backed terms. And Lebanon's president, this is from The Guardian, has refused to even meet Netanyahu until the war ends. So look at the map. Washington is frustrated. Tehran is threatening. Beirut is closed off. Hezbollah is rejecting. And Netanyahu is standing alone, holding a position that might be politically necessary at home, but strategically isolating abroad. This is what a pressure point looks like in real time. And you might be asking, why does this matter to me? Here's why. The same region holds the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's oil moves through that water. Every time tensions rise, fuel markets move. Shipping costs move. Inflation pressure moves. Your grocery bill, your gas pump, the cost of almost everything imported. All of it is connected to whether this deal holds or breaks. This is not a faraway story. This is a story that touches the price of bread in cities thousands of miles away from Beirut. Analysts say the next 72 hours are critical, not because of what will be announced, but because of what will not be announced. Silence in diplomacy is often louder than words. There are 3 possible roads from here, according to analysts cited by Reuters and AP. Path 1. Trump applies private pressure, Netanyahu quietly adjusts, and the deal survives. Path 2. Netanyahu doubles down, the U.S.-Israel rift becomes visible, and the alliance enters its most tested phase in a generation. Path 3. Iran walks out of the ceasefire, and the region resets to where it was before June 14th. Nobody knows which path opens, but every actor in this story is now waiting to see who blinks first. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments, and be honest. Is Netanyahu protecting Israel's security, or is he gambling with Israel's most important alliance? Type 1 if you think he's protecting his country. Type 2 if you think he's risking too much. Follow for the next update, because this story is moving by the hour.
Now, this is a really interesting story that is moving by the hour, as the presenter of this particular video clip that I played, has played out. So where this stands, this particular deal, because Netanyahu is acting like a lunatic again. This time he should be isolated, completely isolated from the world, and particularly from the negotiations, because he's gone totally mad, just like his, partner in America, who the most despicable man, but at least he's under pressure from the rest of the world to sign the deal. And Iran has announced that deal has been signed. And the text has been read out now and analyzed and all that. So this is, again, a repetition of the same thing, that who wins the war. Yes, you've slaughtered few very key individuals, the army military commanders, the intellectuals, the most religious head of the country, Ayatollah Khamenei, Larijani, many people have been killed. 200 children, particularly the girls' school in Minab, has been eliminated. And thousands of bombs have been, cluster bombs, B-12 has been. So that's obviously a physical war took place in the last 100 days. And who is winning now? Of course, Iran is winning, and completely, because they have agreed to sign a deal that is going to unfreeze their assets, over billions and billions of assets that has been frozen. The sanctions will be lifted, and indeed all the boundaries and Strait of Hormuz, which has been talked about, will be open with the conditions, security conditions attached to the Hormuz by Iranians. So most of the ships will be paying it. It's not a toll, but it's a kind of a security thing. And if you don't pay, your ship will be blown up. So who is the winner here? Americans sitting thousands of miles across Atlantics are not the one who should be interfering into the region. They have blown up regional bases of America very successfully in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in UAE, and also in Jordan recently. So they know exactly where to hit. The Iranians are not stupid people. They are intelligent people. They know how to tackle this particular menace in the region, because the region is riddled with this kind of menace of Netanyahu. And Israel has obviously signed the deals with UAE and all that, and Saudis and everything, but they're beginning to realize who they can trust, who they would not trust. Anyway, that is a very big, complicated, issue of the geopolitics, which I'm passionate about it, to talk about geopolitics, because I do follow diligently what's going on in the world, because it affects everybody's life. And the second most important one, I'll be talking about it for years, in fact, I've been talking about, is Ukrainian war, which is in the context of what Charmaine has just mentioned in her news item, that how British have now involved themselves by attacking the shadow fleet of Russia. And Putin's fleet has been attacked, which has been funding the Ukrainian war. Anyway, that's another day's work. I'm not going to have enough time to talk about the Ukrainian war. But right now, the most important thing is the Iranian war is over, because that has been talked about it. Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, has said that the war is practically over. We are not going to bomb anybody. However, if they have not heed and stop bombing Lebanon. Why Lebanon? I mean, Lebanon, just because they think that Hezbollah is living there? Yes, Hezbollah based is Lebanon. Fair enough. That's a proxy army. Iran is surrounded Israel from all around it. So it is now, trapped into this world of proxies. You have in Yemen, at Nile, you have different army of Yemenis, and you have here. Anyway, that's a very detailed analysis that I don't have time to go into it. But the point is that if the Lebanon bombing, which is violating the war that has, or the agreement that's been signed between Iran, because the part of the agreement is the no bombing of Lebanon. But if they'll continue to bomb Lebanon, Iran could walk away from the deal as well, and will continue to beat the shit out of them, because that's what's been going on for quite some time. Anyway, that's an interesting analysis, and I will take this track, which is about the eulogies of Muharram, sung, recited by Sayyid Waji Hassan Zaidi. So sit back, relax, and listen to this. It's in Urdu, unfortunately, so those who understand Urdu would understand. Otherwise, you would get the gist of it.
जब वो बेशीर हंसा शाम के लश्कर रोए फातिमा ज़हरा लोरियां देने को खुद फातिमा ज़हरा कब्र में माँ के लिए जब अली असगर ज़हरा ने बहातर को अकेले रोया बिन्ते ज़हरा ने کاش صغرا سے ملا دے کوئی لے جا کے مجھے کاش صغرا سے ملا دے کوئی لے جا کے مجھے آخری وقت یہ کہہ کر آخری وقت یہ کہہ کر علی اکبر روئے علی اصغر کی سمندر سر کھلے رنگ میں نہ جائے علی کی بیٹی سر کھلے رنگ میں نہ جائے علی کی بیٹی بس یہی سوچ کے مولا بس یہی سوچ کے مولا کہے خنجر چادریں چھن گئی جب اہل حرم کی بن میں چادریں چھن گئی جب اہل حرم کی بن میں نہر پر حضرت عباس نہر پر حضرت عباس تڑپ کر سنگ باری کے لیے آئے جو کوفے والے سنگ باری کے لیے آئے جو کوفے والے غربت خواہر شبیر غربت خواہر شبیر پہ پتھر
That is something very pathos, full of pathos and full of sadness. In short, what he's talking about is that on the when the Imam Hussein's head has been severed, how many people cried, and the God himself cried, and all that. So when you look at the tragedy of Karbala, you would see how the poets have actually eulogized, poets have actually talked about it, the people who really commemorate on this month. So this is a very, a tragic event that happens every year. And the first month of Muharram, people talk about it, various other things and all that. Anyway, I will take a quick break, and after that, I'll come back to play what Sharad has got to say. So sit back, relax, and take a quick break, and I'll be back soon.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read, or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Indeed, Dublin South FM is back now, and I shall be there for another few minutes because the time is really galloping, as I say, these things, because the time flies when you talk about these gruesome tragedy of the world and all that. But Sharad is here to talk about a very important element that I really want to play with. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this.
Last year, in his Independence Day address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a proposal. And by that proposal, he was characterizing illegal infiltration as premeditated conspiracy just to alter India's demography. Subsequently, a committee chaired by retired Supreme Court Judge Justice P.P. Naulekar is to assess what is this demographic change and whether there is a pattern of abnormal population shift amongst religious and social communities, and then recommend a time-bound solution. Meanwhile, the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, he has called this demographic change as unnatural demographic change. And this, according to him, is a significant challenge to the present and the future of any nation. Now, more or less, this narrative has been with this government ever since they have come into power. It has been 12 years since, and there has been no concrete steps taken in order to justify this unnatural demographic change or to find a solution to this change, if it exists. So after 12 long years, this government has appointed this committee chaired by Justice P.P. Naulekar. Now, the Home Minister also links this demographic change not only to sovereignty, but also to national security with law and order and profound changes in the social structure and the subsequent preservation of also the tribal societies of India. On a side note, on one side, the Home Minister is talking about the tribal societies. On the other side, the age-old tribals in Andaman Nicobar Islands are being displaced. So there is a contradictory to the statement, but let's stick to what we are talking today about. Obviously, if the government assumes that there is an unnatural shift in the demography, it is certainly going to affect the public service deliveries, the local governance, the resource distribution, and social cohesion, of course. And on top of it, Justice Naulekar has said that the panel will also formulate a solution for the custody and deportation of the infiltrators. Now, this has multiple layers to look at, and therefore we begin this discussion as to what is unnatural demographic change and who has established this demographic change. We didn't have a population census since 2011. We were supposed to have one in 2021, but due to COVID, it was postponed. So should have happened the next year or the next year after. But then it is 2026 and there are some reports of the beginning of the census. So we are 15 years into a census, into a society, counting who is who, where the dynamics, the age, the economic migration, the business migration, the industry migration, this has all changed. So at this moment, calling India with an unnatural demographic change is just an assumption, and a very dangerous assumption because it is destroying the peace and fabric of the country. So just by the visuals or something else, if they have a formula, calling an unnatural demographic change is a risk to India's fabric, and we are witness to that. If you look at the policy perspective, three events that actually may contribute to the unnatural demographic change, and that's the cross-border infiltration from Bangladesh into the Indian border states like Assam, West Bengal, and parts of Northeast. Now, I have lived in Northeast for a very long period of time, including Assam, and this problem has been there. Because the border was porous, there was an economic movement on both sides actually. But then because India was doing better than Bangladesh economically, there was a migration. Also, there was a cultural homogeneity between the border districts of Bengal, Assam, Northeast, and people in Bangladesh. So there has been undocumented immigration, no doubt about it. And over the years, these immigration have been legitimized by the local politicians, by the local governments, first by ration card and then subsequently by other documentation, which in turn, I would say, would have helped the local politics. So there has been cross-border infiltration, no doubt about it. The other one about the unnatural demographic change, that over the period, the border districts have seen a growth rate of certain religious communities, and I would guess it is primarily Muslims, and they have outpaced the state average. Now, for instance, the Home Ministry notes that there is a sharp increase in Muslim population in the districts of West Bengal and Assam. And this increase cannot be just explained by the natural birth rates alone. Now, what kind of survey they did, I'm not sure about, but this seems to be their claim. But if you look at how the Indian population has evolved for last 80 years since the partition, it has been structural, like 1947, and the movement across the border didn't just stop in 1947. It continued further into many more years before India and Pakistan started to be strict on the borders. And if you see the East, the migration across the porous borders had been driven by historical kinship, shared language, the Bengali, and then in 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, which saw millions of refugees come into India. So over 80 years, if you see, before partition and after that, there has been historical number of movements across the border, and India seems to be a corridor which has been chaotic as refugee movements, both for the economic and environmental migrations. We are also seeing the illegal migration of Rohingya refugees. So borders have been porous, and how much can the government apply the border security forces if there are shared farmlands, if the cattle of one country go grazing into another country across the border? There are swamps, there are uninhabitable landscapes. So it's a challenge. The other one, inside India, what we are seeing is the total fertility rate divergence. Now, if you see, by 2022, India's overall TFR, that fell to 2.0, and this is below the replacement rate of 2.1. Therefore, over a period, even though in a small number, the population of India will continue to either stay as it is or continue to decline. Now, this is not uniform across the country. There is a southern and a western shift. So like states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Maharashtra rather, it has experienced rapid economic development, and it has witnessed higher female literacy and urbanization. And therefore, the fertility rates have plummeted up to 1.6, 1.8. And now, over the period, we will see more aging population profile in these states. While on the other hand, if you have a look, states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, they have always been low income economic profile, and hence they have lacked in female education and healthcare access. So consequently, their fertility rates have been higher. So there is a clear divide between the north and south, and that comes me to a side note about the delimitation bill, wherein if you are marking the constituency seats for the parliament based on population, then the northern belt of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, the northern belt will have more number of incremental seats than south, and south of India would be punished for the economic development and keeping the population growth in control. So now coming to the another factor which we have seen only in last 30 years, and that's the internal distress migration. We are seeing that the shrinking agricultural land holdings, rural distresses, they are bringing people from the villages into the cities, into the urban areas. And the urban economies are booming, which in turn are further sucking out the population from the villages into the cities, into the urban fringes as they call it. And that is how there is an alteration of the linguistic, cultural and the social fabric of the local areas. In Mumbai itself, it was the Tamils, educated ones, who were into Mumbai for the jobs in bureaucracy and education, which led to the rise of Shiv Sena in order to defend the local culture. Broadly, I'm saying so. When that took some resistance and it slowed down, it was the migration, which still continues, the internal migration of workers from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in the north into Mumbai. So the demography of Mumbai has completely changed. It no more looks like the Mumbai of Maharashtra, but then it is part of India, and the movement of population has been guaranteed by the constitution. So one cannot object to that kind of migration. So if the sole basis is the cultural identity and the distribution of the local traditions and the linguistic values, then there is a point. But the outcome cannot be, or the solution cannot be restrictions to the internal distress migration, because then that would end up being a state into a state. Now, globally, this is a problem which all countries are facing. As late as June 14th, that's last week, Switzerland held a referendum and rejected a proposal to cap the country's population at 10 million. The reasons being mostly economics, because Switzerland needs people to work to run the economy. And therefore, any attempt to cap the country's legal population at 10 million would be detrimental to the progress of Switzerland. The same debate is in Britain, where there are political parties who want to cap the net migration to 100,000 people. And I'm sure the same debate continues to hold in Ireland and in United States. So there is a mix of legal migration and illegal migration, and India is currently suffering from the narrative of illegal migration, which has now turned into a demographic change for various reasons. And the government, subsequent governments, including this one, has not been able to curb the cross-border illegal undocumented migration. To some extent, we had seen the chaos of handling the illegal migration, or rather identifying them, through the exercise of SIR for the voters list. How far will that be able to arrest the illegal undocumented migration? One has to see that. But then it has certainly stirred up the debate of religious skew and the communal profiling of especially the Muslims in the community. And this is important because there is a human cost involved into it. And all these are interconnected. So somebody of the seniority of Justice P.P. Naulikar, they have to look into the statistical part of rising life expectancy and the falling birth rates, of the composition of the Indian population, of the economic divide between the north and the south of India, the migration, domestic migration, and of course the porous borders in states of West Bengal and Assam. Any exercise that would disfranchise the population and leaves a large stateless population in a country which nobody else is willing to accept. This is going to be a demographic deadlock rather than a solution. And the shades of this problem we are seeing in United States, where an undocumented worker from Mexico and the Central America have a documented family in United States. So deporting or making travel restrictions is only going to shatter the peaceful fabric of the country. And this is a lesson India needs to take from United States whenever they are designing a solution to this unnatural demographic change, if at all it is so drastic that a national policy has to be designed. With that intricate matter and a long-term problem, seeking a long-term solution where human lives are involved, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, dutifully ask questions. At the end of the day, somebody has to stand up. Bye for now.
नाम है हमारा लीला।
That is Leela Naam Hai Mera, and that is Sunny Leone, who is going to be in town. Yes, indeed, on the 20th, this Saturday, it doesn't matter what you're doing, don't miss this concert. This is going to be a fantastic concert, and the first time in the Leopardstown Racecourse here in Leopardstown and Southside. And indeed, thank you, Ayushman, the group which is bringing a concert, Ayushman concert, which is going to be rocking on the Saturday, and it will be attended by, or should I say inaugurated by, officially inaugurated by newly appointed Kirloch of Dunleary County Council, Mr. Barry Souls, will be there to inaugurate at 4 p.m. So be there. Buy your tickets if you haven't bought it yet. It's on eventbrite.ie, and it's going to be a fantastic concert late into the night. Always the concerts get matured when the darkness fell in the city. So this is a fantastic first time open air summer concert is taking place here at the Leopardstown Racecourse, and Ayushman Concerts are bringing this particular concert. So please do attend if you can, and that'll be fantastic opportunity for a lot of people to enjoy and let their hair down. So I'm going to play again Desi Look, and that is what it is. I mean, this is a Sunny Leone at his best. Sunny Leone who's going to be performing this particular fantastic songs, and she's been spinning actually. She'll be doing doing the DJing and all that. So that's all, folks. We have time. We have run out of time, but I'll take one track for 1 minute and say goodbye to you. I'll be back same time, same place here at the Dublin South FM 93.9. This is your own local broadcaster, SIRAJ ZAIDI, saying goodbye.
मेरी देसी